Hey everybody, Randy Reviews It here. So today we're going to be talking about the Steyr L9-A1. So you may have heard of Steyr. They make the Steyr AUG, probably the most famous bullpup in the world, courtesy of Die Hard. 1911 Syndicate just released a video with the Steyr SSG, which is apparently their big sniper offering. I haven't heard of it either, so that's news to me. But let's talk about this gun. So this is their Polymer striker fired offering, and I want to say the friend who loaned this to me bought it a few years ago. He purchased it for $400, which I think is an amazing deal considering, you know, Steyr's kind of reputation for quality as well as some of the features that are on it. So the first thing you'll notice is kind of that grip angle. So if you look at it, when you grab it, it's got a very, very low bore axis. So they were trying to out bore axis Glock on this. I think they succeeded. The recoil impulse is very pleasant on this. So yeah, the grip angle though does leave a little bit to be desired, because when you grab it, it feels like you're constantly tilting the pistol down. And you know, like the way that you feel regular guns, you want to hold it up, like where these finger grooves are kind of facing forward, and you get this kind of an angle then. So natural point of aim doesn't really feel right with this gun, but you know, it's something you sacrifice, you'd have to get used to, that sort of thing. So next, let's talk about what else kind of wowed me on it. So the trigger. I measured the trigger. It comes in at 6 pounds. It definitely feels better than other 6-pound triggers that I felt. It feels closer to like an actual 4.5, 5 pound on like a Shadow Systems or something like that. It's not a bad trigger. So for $400, you're getting a surprisingly good trigger, a surprisingly good recoil impulse, a surprisingly well-built gun. The cons that I would say is this only holds 15 rounds, so you're looking at about 2 less rounds, and it feels like a full-size gun yet. You know, if I can get my hand on it, it's up there as far as full-size guns. The barrel length is definitely there. The other con, and it's kind of an interesting thing that the way they did it, when I first looked at it, I thought it would work great, but it didn't really work out. When I went to the range, I was kind of struggling, but can you take a look at these sights? So it's a triangle kind of in the back. Well, I should say between the front sight and the back, it forms like a trapezoid. So you think like, oh, you know, when I see the full trapezoid, let her rip. But it's harder to line up than you'd think. You know, when you're first playing around with it, or, you know, like holding it, testing it, looking at it, that sort of thing, you're like, oh, okay, I can't wait to line that up. But if you shot long enough, you know, one of the things you want to do is not focus on the rear sight. You want to focus on the target. Like, you don't want to focus on the sights at all. And what I found is when I focused on the target, it was much harder to line this up than I expected with, like, you know, versus typical iron sights. So the sights, while I commend them for trying something different, didn't really work out in their favor. So the sights you'd probably switch out. It does have a lot of room up here as far as being able to mill it and that sort of thing. It doesn't come optics ready. You know, this was a few years back. They probably weren't optics ready. Maybe Steyr has updated that. The slide release is only on strong side if you're correct-handed like me. There's no AMB there. One of the things that is a little different too, and I'll potentially show it more in the takedown video or the breakdown remaining later in this video, but it breaks down from like in battery. Like, you don't pull the slide back. It's got this little lever right here you press, and then you flip that, and then it just comes off. So it's different. It definitely warrants, you know, I'd like to think that everyone's amazingly safe out there, but I know that there's negligent discharges. You shouldn't have any, or, you know, like, learn from your mistakes. But when you're cleaning a gun, you should definitely be running that a bunch, making sure it's empty, everything like that. Because if you take this apart with one in there, that's a little scarier, I think, or it's going to be harder to notice because the other guns, you're opening that slide to flip that takedown lever. So it's just something to point out. The ergos of this are pretty good. Like the grip feels good. It's just, you know, at an awkward angle, but I get why, because I'm not getting any slide bite. And you can see right there my scar from Glocks. So I definitely get slide bite on most other guns. And I'm not getting it on this, or not even close to getting it on this. Definitely a little chunkier in the front. It does have a light rail on it and everything like that. So let's get into the breakdown of this, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, everyone, here is the takedown of this gun. So just to show everyone, we're all clear. There's no ammo on the table, no magazines, anything like that. Let's get a pin in here to help me press this. But basically, you just press that down and then slip that all the way out. And you saw that slide moved a little bit. So you do have to pull the trigger to get it off. Let's take a look at these inner workings here. So it looks kind of like a similar standard striker fire with like a Browning tilt. It's got an interesting guide rod on it. So you can see the back of that has a pretty big plastic kind of buffer. And then it's a solid plastic guide rod, nothing metal there. Looking at the barrel, you can see typical 2 prongs, stuff like that. One thing, the slide is definitely like height-wise very thin. So it's interesting with that low bore axis how it gets at things. But yeah, just typical striker here. And then inside, it's got kind of an interesting trigger mechanism you'll see in the back there. Not sure exactly how that improves it or anything like that, but just something to look at. So yeah, that's takedown of this gun. If you're enjoying the video, feel free to like, subscribe. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get this channel to grow. But we'll jump into my final thoughts. All right, we're back. So we're still talking about the Steyr L9-A1. Final thoughts on this. So if you're new to striker fired guns, you don't have any yet, anything like that, try picking this up. If you can find it around a local shop, pick it up, see if it's right for you. I definitely think it's probably one of the better budget options out there. I don't think it's gonna, you know, be a complete game changer when you grab it or anything like that. But compared to like a Taurus, compared to some of those Mossberg offerings, Ruger offerings, things like that, I think this one comes out ahead. You get the Steyr quality, you get a good price point, you get a great recoil impulse, you get a better than average trigger. Yeah, so it's got a lot of things going for it. I would just probably send it in to get milled for an optic and switch out these iron sights for something else. But other than that, check it out if you get a chance, especially if you can rent it at a range, give it a try there. The recoil impulse is pretty fun on this. I did enjoy shooting it. It was just awkward getting my sights and getting everything in alignment the first time out. All right, take care, everyone.